Hi, I'm Guido Estevez with local band 90's Daughter and employee here at Danville Area Community College. Today, I'm bringing you what I like to call the musical chameleon. Local man, Logan Kirby. How you doing, Logan?
Doing well, man. It's
Hope
good
you're
to be
okay
here.
with that musical chameleon thing.
Hey, I like it. I
Well,
like it.
whoever you want to be, you are.
Yeah, just impersonating is just my bag, man.
Yeah?
Yep. I write my own tunes, but I love to impersonate.
Yeah?
Something about it, I guess, and people enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. So the first question I ask people, all right, what's like your earliest musical memory or favorite song? The first time you can remember music doing something to you that was like, whoa, what is that?
Well, I kind of grew up on both sides of the spectrum. You see, my pop, he was always the classic country guy.
Uh-huh.
And I can remember just riding in the truck, squirrel hunting, and he played Ernest Tubb, and that guitar sound, Billy Bird, and I would just tell him to play it again and play it again.
How old are you?
Yeah, I was 6, 7.
6, right.
Something like that, and maybe even younger than that. Then on the other side, my grandmother, she would put on records when it was time to clean the house, and it was Neil Diamond or ABBA or Simon and Garfunkel, and Simon and Garfunkel especially. When I first heard Sound of Silence, I got goosebumps already just
Really?
talking about it. Yeah, and growing up with all that music,
Right.
just it's hard to explain the feeling that I get and
That's-
being able to do that.
That's what I like to go through. I think with musicians especially, like we hear stuff and just are moved. Sometimes my wife gets on me because I'll hear something that makes some noise, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just, woo! Like, dude, you hearing that?
Yes.
So I find it interesting, like, most musicians have that early age where something just goes, you're like, what's that? Play it again. Like he said, play it again.
Yeah.
Play it again.
Play it
That's
again.
something. So Ernest Tubbs, did he do the statue? What's his big song? His biggest songs?
But Walking the Floor Over You and Thanks a Lot.
Thanks a lot. Okay, that was it.
Yeah, and him and the Texas Troubadours, man. And
Right.
of course, Johnny Cash, too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, just, like I said, having like those two different spectrums of music. And then, as I got older, I kind of developed a taste of my own into the 80s hair rock and roll stuff. And
Really?
And that was actually my first band.
That's one of my questions, how you got started. So your first band was an 80s metal, like hair metal band.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
I'm not. I had the hair.
Do you have
and
pictures?
Somewhere.
If you
Somewhere.
can track some down, I'd love to have some for the interview just to show that.
Okay.
So what were your favorite, like, 80s metal bands?
Cinderella and AC/DC, and AC/DC is my favorite, but Warrant, I love those guys, man. And medical problems, I couldn't play the guitar like I used to, so I kind of went to the more mellow stuff, and I actually senior citizens.
Mhm.
I really connect with those folks.
Right.
And that's why I do what I do now.
Uh-huh.
So, but don't get me wrong, I still can bang my head in
Well,
the car if I want to.
I have this theory. I felt like, because I grew up in the metal too. And I think it was really good for musicianship because whether you like the music or not, you had to be proficient to play it. If you want to play a Metallica song, you don't just pick it up. You go in your room and can't play it. You come out, still can't play it. You go back in your room, can't play it, and then eventually you come out and you can play the song.
Exactly.
And so I always felt that at least like my generation of musicians who liked that music all became really proficient because you had to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think when grunge came around and was able to play a Nirvana song with boom, ba-dum, it was dropped a little bit. But I think I just feel like everyone who grew up in that age generally can really play their ass off because of the music you had to learn.
Absolutely. Like Randy Rhoads and then like Angus Young from AC/DC with the blues background, those guys were out of sight. And then those are my heroes of rock and roll as far as guitar playing goes, is Angus Young and Randy Rhoads. I love those guys, and every once in a while I still get the old electric out and crank it up and try to play like I used to, but I'm more of a rhythm player now than anything.
Yeah, but you gotta let me know you can sing metal. Make a note of that for next time we do a show together.
All
Get you-
right.
I gotta see you play some metal now.
Okay.
Will you think you'll come up with the costume?
I still got the leopard pants, man.
I am writing this down. we're gonna mark my words. We're gonna do this. You're gonna play some metal with me. Okay, so your first band was metal. Okay.
Yep.
Did you start? When did you start playing out? Were you guys like high school band? When did you start that band?
Yeah, we were in high school, and it was before any of us could even drive. So people were, and our first gig, I'll never forget it. It was the day that Michael Jackson died. We were playing a birthday party, and came over the radio, Michael Jackson died. And we do our set, and we're kind of bummed, because you got to respect the King of Pop, too.
Right.
And then a few hours later, come on, Farrah Fawcett died. And I had her Aquanet poster.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, and I still got it in my basement.
The poster.
The poster.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I'll never forget my first gig because of that. And but
Did
it
you
was
get- Did you get paid?
nope.
No.
And it didn't bother me
Right.
because I was making music with my friends, and that's what it's always been about for me, is making music with my friends and bringing joy to other people.
Right.
It's never been about the dollar signs for me.
So let me ask you this then. So I mean, you know, because you play professionally, what's the balance like of, you know, you play gigs for money and you play gigs for enjoyment? And
Yeah, like if I go to a nursing home, I don't try to beat them up. You know,
Right,
like,
right,
hey,
right.
You know, throw me a little bit for gas.
Right.
But you know, yeah, when we play other shows, yeah, we play. You know, it balances itself out, and but it's still more so about bringing joy to people than it is anything else. However, initially it was that adrenaline rush.
Right.
The first time you heard the roar of the crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah.
You can't beat that.
What do you think? So before you heard the roar of the crowd, what drew you to, like, you know, I know for myself from a young age, I was like, I gotta do this. So did you know right away, like, I gotta perform? And if so, what made you go? Like, 'cause you think about this, I always think there's something implicit to performers who go, not only do I want to play music, but I want to jump up in front of people. So,
Well, this goes back to, so I started playing the guitar when I was 7.
uh-huh.
And
Did you take lessons or all by ear?
no, all by ear. My pop taught me a few chords, and I went from there, and all self-taught. You know, multi-instrumentalist.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually grew up singing gospel music in church. And one day they had asked if I would sing for their Easter service. And I was young. I was probably only 5 at this time.
Wow.
Just singing, and it's kind of came full circle, because now I'm a worship leader at the Westville First Church of Christ. And when I was 5 years old, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to play piano in church. And gospel music has always been the one that touches my heart the most, you know.
Do you have a favorite gospel song?
Oh,
Either listening or performing. What's your favorite? What's the one you know, moves you to the Lord?
Our standard closer is How Great, Elvis's version of How Great Thou Art.
Yeah.
And but there's so many. Like I love Until Then, and I Don't Know About Tomorrow. There's Old Rugged Cross. All the, you know, the older hymns, and then I've actually gotten into some of the more contemporary Christian music too, and it's great. It's great, and the harmonies. But I'm really into the Southern gospel quartet, Gaither. You know, that stuff moves me to tears. It doesn't matter what the song is. And the funny story is, I was doing a Christmas show, and the director was like, "I need you to have you know, happy faces." And I said, "I don't care if it's the birth, the resurrection, or the crucifixion. I get emotional when I sing about the Lord." You know, and that. It always it's feel good. It makes me feel good.
I was always jealous of, so I grew up in Chicago, Catholic. I was always jealous of the gospel churches. The music was so much better than what I was singing at my church. I got lucky. I went to the Puerto Rican church one time, and they had the thumping band, and I remember just being like, whoa, church could be like this.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of the first time I went to a buddy of mine. He had invited me to his church. African American church, and
Yep.
we're talking hallelujah, praise the Lord, and I was having a great time, and I would go every Sunday if I had the chance, because they know how to get down and praise the Lord.
Amen, man.
Amen.
It was great to just see music and religion just uplifting and just, rock, like we do shows, they're rocking the house.
Yes.
But it's for a purpose, and it's spiritual, and to be a part of that's always like, I
Yeah.
still I get the goosebumps.
Me too. Yep.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I think all musicians have that. We can talk about music and just talking about, we're getting goosebumps talking. Imagine what we're like when we're playing.
Exactly.
When
you can touch somebody, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, mentally, any way,
mm-hmm.
and you can make a difference in that person's life. I guess Tom Petty said it best. If you can stand up there for 2 hours and make people forget about their problems, you did your job.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that is what it's all about.
I totally agree. I know a lot of people use music different ways. There's political artists and things like that. But I've always been for 2-3 hours, this is about just us being here and having a good time. And then it goes with the spirituality stuff. It's at a bar, you're just being happy.
Exactly.
In church, you're being happy and praising the Lord by being happy. So
Absolutely.
that feeling. Okay, a couple things. So what is your best show experience? And that could be just big crowd or best song, or whatever. You could just, one of those shows that sticks out to you.
I'll tell you what, there's so many, but in recent history, I gotta say Red Hot Winter this past year, man. It was out of sight. I could not believe a show like that could be put on in this area, and just the amount of talent and various talents. I went to Vegas. I've seen some variety shows, but it was incredible. And just to be a part of it for a few numbers was incredible. But going back up, sipping on a brew and watching the rest of it, I'm like, this is lit. I guess if that's the terminology these days.
Yeah, so just to clear up, Red Hot Winter is a variety show we do, and it's, I think a lot of the part of that too is getting a chance to all the performers hang out.
Yeah.
When we're taking the elevator down, like those, I always say, I've said this before, half the reason I'm a musician, I'm just enamored by musicians. Even though I know how the sausage is made now,
Yeah.
but I go see shows, and I'm like,
Yes.
whoa, and we started working together, so we put a video up of, it was the Frankie Valli,
Mm-hmm.
and I love Frankie Valli, and I was just, first off, he has one of the best voices of all times, big
I would
ring,
agree.
really, his voice is legendary, but you nailed it.
He's 89. He's still got it.
He still goes out and rips it up. So the last time I saw him, he didn't. Sometimes they get older artists change their keys.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was up there.
Yeah. I saw him last fall over in Indy, and he was only 88 at the time, and he was kind of reserved that first set, and I was wondering when's he gonna get up there. And sure enough, the crowd went ballistic, and he had just an incredible band backing him. And when you have a voice like that, you don't have to, you don't. It's like kind of like Roy Orbison. He would just stand there and sing.
Yeah,
that's all you have to do
Yep.
when you have a voice like that. And there's several that I can think of like that, because. Since the medical issues and things like that, I've more so relied on my voice than anything else, and I got a great band to back me up, and I couldn't do what I do without them.
right.
And getting to know people like you and the people that I met at like Red Hot Winter, there's so much talent.
There is around here. Isn't it?
It's mind blowing. And I was thankful to have been a part of that and see for myself, because like last year I did 237 shows.
Wow.
This year I'm sitting on 200 if I don't book any more.
Right.
And next year I said I'm gonna slow down so I can go and enjoy other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And also spend some time with my kids. They're they're small and they're growing up. And my daughter, she told me the other night, she said, "Where'd you go?" I said, "I had to go sing." She said, "You do that a lot." I said, "I know, I know." And I know, so it's time to slow down a little bit.
Well, and sometimes it just allows you to start doing different kind of gigs.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I want to explore options and just see where the road takes me. You never know.
Remind me before you leave today, too, so I got a couple gigs for you. Okay, what is your worst show experience?
Worst show experience. Oh boy. I would have to say, going back to the rock and roll hair band back in high school, we did the Georgetown Fair talent show, and we just did one song.
What was the song?
Paranoid.
Oh yeah,
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
And
yes, it's a great song.
it was terrible because we didn't have a PA or anything like that. They gave us a microphone and nobody could hear each other, and it was just a mess. It was all over the place. But
Was that in the 80s, 90s?
that was in the early 2000s.
Was it a club or was it?
It was at the Georgetown Fair.
Georgetown Fair, but
yeah.
it was like a band shell thing or?
No, it was just a flat stage, and it was crazy because there was only 4 of us, so no monitors or anything, and so our bass player is way over here, then rhythm guitar player is here, I'm here in the middle, and I'm lead, and the drummer's in the back, and it was insane.
Well, luckily you had to go back that far to find your worst gigs. That's good. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, well, last week, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your band a bit. Tell me
Yeah.
about who's in the band.
I got Chris Taylor on lead guitar, and he's just fantastic. And he
teaches over.
he teaches at Danville High, and he works at B&J. And that's where I met him, was at B&J Music. You know, I'd go in there and I'd buy my picks or whatever. But my first memory of really talking to him was 10 years ago. I walked in there after I'd had my stroke, and I had a walker, and he said, "What happened, man?" And I told him the story and everything like that. I said, "I'm just kind of getting back on my feet," and then the next year, he said, I asked him, I said, "Would you be interested in playing in my band?" He said, "Yeah." And he wasn't a country guy,
Right.
you know. He was he plays with Doc Ashton and the Root Canals too, and I'm not a jealous guy. I want you to go and have your fun too, man.
Yeah.
And but especially over the last 3 years, maybe 4, we've just really clicked as a group, and I can't say enough good things about Chris Taylor. Then Todd Gallagher on the double bass.
The incomparable.
The incomparable Todd Gallagher, and he's just a maestro. He can play anything, and
Classically trained, man. I mean,
yeah.
but he's still got a rock edge. He can rock.
Yes, he can. He said he's a polyjamorous. he will play. He will play
fits.
anything.
That
You know,
fits.
and it's a joy to have him. And then Aaron Bauslag on drums, just incredible. I met him when I did the $1 Million Quartet at the Beef House probably 7 years ago, maybe 8 now, and we've all been together for going on 8 years.
Wow.
And that's almost a lifetime for a local band.
In a band term, that's like 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. So, but the one I had before that, you know, those guys, they, you know, kind of semi-retired, and they were much older than me. And I mean, like my old lead guitar player, Denny Collada, he was a professor of geology at the U of I, and country picker, man. And but he's 81 years old, and I call him up every once in a while. I say, "Hey, will you do a reunion gig with me?" And he's on it.
Oh,
and
he's
still got it. He's sharp as a tack and still got the licks. And then
music keeps you young.
It does. It does. I've always said that music is the best medicine.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that. You know, because just last year, I had another stroke, and it happened at the hospital. We were rehearsing for an Elvis show at the Beef House, and I doubled over, and I thought I was it. I was done for. So I went to the hospital, and then when I was laying there, I had another, but they gave me that shot, the TPA shot, and it was almost instant. And I was in there for a week, but music, it helps. In mentally, emotionally, every way, shape, or form, it's something that's never left me. And between music and God, those are the two things that have never left me.
Right.
And I don't know what I'd do without either one of them.
Yeah, music's always been my constant. Even when I was younger and really crazy and doing stuff, that was the one thing I did. I could kind of keep together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you know, as a little kid, that you were just like, I'm gonna go do that, like I'm gonna go sing, or was it just?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And like I said, it started in church.
Yeah.
I sang for their Easter Sunday service. And I said, I'm going to do this one of these days. And then, starting piddling around on the guitar at a young age, 7, and piano at 10.
Yeah. Isn't it weird when you're like, I always found it hard to process being young, but going like, I don't know, but I'm like, for me, I saw Blues Brothers, and I was because I couldn't play yet, but I was like, I'm doing that. Like, it was so clear in my mind. It's always interesting that we all have those points where we're really young, and it's just something that's, I call it the calling. It's I don't know what, but I can do that. I'm going to go do that. I got to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it was for me was as far as performing, I guess I should say, I knew I wanted to play early on, but performing, I was in first grade, so I don't know what age that would be, but we went to see George Jones when he was at the Civic Center here in town, and we had front row seats, and it was just incredible because he's my favorite country singer, and the kicker was, the guy was selling his own merch. So we went back there, and I'm just looking at stuff, and I got the possum T-shirt and the CD and this and that and the other, and then I hear this voice, and he had a real deep and southern drawl, and he said, "You like my music, youngin'?" I look up, and it's him. It was my first starstruck experience, and if you didn't know him, you'd think he was a Walmart greeter.
Really?
That's how friendly he was, and his wife was selling with him too, and just getting to meet him face to face and see him on stage at the age he was then. I mean, he wasn't a spring chicken by any means, but he still had it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do, and I'm going to do it as long as I can.
It's funny, and like so many in my life, I feel confused about stuff. But again, we talk the clarity of just like, nope, that's going to happen.
Yep.
It's like I really feel all musicians have that moment of just, I gotta do it. Gotta jump up there. Gotta play.
Yeah. There's no better feeling, especially when your group is in the groove, and then the crowd is in the groove. The adrenaline's pumping, sweat's pouring. You got to change your strings after the show.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, it's why we do what we do. Yeah. Okay, so we are at a college. So what would be your advice for someone who has that calling like we had, where it was just like, I gotta go do it? What would be something you could suggest for them to do?
Go for it, because you never know if you don't try, and you can always learn from your mistakes.
You learn more from your mistakes.
You learn more than anything else, and one mistake doesn't mean you failed. You keep pushing and keep pushing. If it's what you want to do and you have that passion, then you can do anything you set your mind to. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's that ideas in your head, you can make them reality.
Yeah.
Go live in those songs
Yeah.
and those performances and things like that. Okay, if you had to work with one musician or one band, past or present, on a song, who would it be and why? I know, it's a tough one. You get one.
I only get one.
I think it could be a band or a single artist. This is a tough question.
It is a very tough question. I'm going to go with Hank Sr.
Really?
Yes.
And why?
Because he wrote every one of his songs. Not everyone, but he wrote 99% of his songs. He died at 29 years old and made such an impact on
He
country
died at
and
29,
early
isn't it?
rock and roll. Yeah,
Wow.
29 years old. And I mean, there's talks of people saying that "Moving On Over" was the first rock and roll song.
Yeah.
And who can deny that? I mean,
Yeah.
George Thorogood read
Yeah.
it, and it rocks.
Yeah.
You know, and his influence on so many. Buddy Holly
Mhm.
was influenced by Hank Sr. George Jones. His influence, and that's who I'd pick. I mean, 4 years of fame.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
and
Wow.
just-
That's crazy to think about. 4 years with, I mean, he's such a poignant character, so he still gets brought up in conversations to this day. So I didn't realize just 4 years he did all that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 53 was his first hit, I believe, and then, or no, excuse me, 53 was when he passed away. So
49.
yeah,
48.
something like that. Yeah, and 49, and just that's who I'd pick. The Drifting Cowboy Band. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Would you write a song for them, or would you just?
would I write a song for them? Actually, I actually have about 3 songs that are heavily Hank influenced, and I would have loved for them to perform it.
That was my next question. So, like, again, you're so good at mimicking. I'm dying to hear. What does your stuff sound like? Is it country or is
It's I have a lot of different things. I have a few. I've written more gospel than anything, and it's country fried gospel for sure. And then I wrote one for my grandparents
Mhm.
on their 65th wedding anniversary, or 60th
Mhm.
wedding anniversary, and I performed it for them, and they passed away within like 6 months of each other,
Oh,
and
wow.
and that's the one I'm most proud of.
Really?
It's called "If Anything Ever Happened to You," and it's I don't know how to explain it, but it just has whatever's in my heart, and
Right.
and I believe that if a song can't be written in 15, 20 minutes, it's not worth writing. Because I mean, when I get an idea, I put the pen to paper and it's done. And
I love when it happens that easy.
I know,
Right.
and that's the whole thing. Like, I have titles, probably hundreds
Right.
of titles, and then I'm draw a blank, you
Right.
know. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do with this? I'll just leave it in the book, I guess, you know.
Right.
And maybe something will come eventually, you know, or I'll just have, you know, a chorus of something. But I always do the music and the lyrics together,
Uh-huh.
because it's tough for me to write lyrics and then try to put a melody with it, or vice versa. If I'm messing around.
See, really, you sit down and it just all comes out.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yep.
I love when I feel like I have different ways of writing depending on the songs, but I love when it's just sit down, get your guitar, and it goes, cool. I know exactly what's going to happen, and it just comes out of you.
Yep.
Kind of just, it feels almost like it's channeling through you,
Yeah.
as opposed to actually you doing anything, right?
Yeah. The first song I wrote, it was called "Crying for You," and it's very, very country.
Uh-huh.
and it was talking about my high school sweetheart. And one of the lines is, "It hurts me to know you climbing through his window. You've gone to my friend, and our love's come to an end." You know, and that was one that just flowed right out. And I was actually pretty proud of that because I was only maybe 15 when I wrote that one.
Did you show it to her?
No, she's heard it though.
I learned the power of that. So in high school, I had a girlfriend who cheated on me, and so I wrote a pretty funny song about it. And man, I didn't record it. I just wrote the lyrics. I did a couple demo tapes, and man, it flew around the other high school so fast. I remember being like, "Ooh, what? Whoa, that's powerful." I wrote it because I was sad, and I wanted to vent. But man, it's nice to have that power when you're young. You're like, yeah, you can write a song and have this emotion, and you can write it, and you can play it, and other people feel that emotion.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, whoa.
That's and that's the idea of the whole thing. You want to reach somebody, and you know, because there's somebody out there that has had those same feelings.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the whole concept, in my opinion, on it.
Well, you know, I talked to a lot of younger writers, and I'm like, hey, man, like, if you put your stuff out, even if you're not hugely like financially successful, you're going to be someone's favorite song.
Yeah.
Or a song that got them through whatever.
Exactly.
You know.
You know, not only can it help others, but it helps yourself.
Oh,
I mean, you can get through anything. I mean, and it's the same thing with poetry.
Yeah.
Or painting, any kind of art in general. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like I catch myself and I sit there and I watch Bob Ross for 3 or 4 hours, you know, and I'm just enamored by what that man can do with a canvas. Yeah. And, you know, and then I can go to a museum and admire a Van Gogh or, you know, or a Monet. Right. And art in itself, it's not just music. It's just
any creation.
Creation is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And like they say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You know, somebody can walk up to a painting and say, "Wow, no, I don't know about all that," but somebody else can walk up to him and say, "Oh my gosh," you know, and it right there.
Well, it's easier, you know. It's just the world needs more creators, and whatever that means, whatever you're creating, whatever you're putting out there, it's, you know, be positive. It's easy to deconstruct and criticize, but it's a lot harder to actually put yourself out there and get out there. Okay, so a couple other things. Where do you get your costumes?
Well, my Hank Williams suit was actually professionally made by, his name's Manuel, and he took over for Nudie. And I went in there.
Who's Nudie?
Nudie Khan. He's the one who made all the fancy rhinestone suits for those old-time country western stars. And I went in there, and he measured me up, and I asked for a couple different, you know, styles. I said, I know this is probably copyright. I said, I want as close as I can to Hank Williams' white note suit. And he said, okay. So he measured me up, and what I'll never forget, he said, I can't believe it. He said, you are the same, you have the same measurements as Hank. And I'm thinking, because he was 88 at the time, but he made my suit, and he's still kicking. Wow. And still making suits. And so I got a lot of stuff from Nashville and Colorado, and then my Elvis jumpsuits I get from a place called Pro Jumpsuits, and then a lot of secondhand stores. Yeah. You know,
it's good stuff there.
The 70s bell bottoms. You know, secondhand shops are a blessing.
Oh, so especially as a, you know, when I was a younger, poorer musician, I mean, the thrift shops, and no joke, when I got married, I found this thrift shop black jacket. I wore it when I got married. It was like just this like $7 jacket, but actually real nice, and it worked out great.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's that's the same way. My pop, he said, that jacket looks like a Captain Kangaroo coat. Well, you know, I don't exactly have the funds to go and buy a $300 Ralph Lauren suit, you know.
That's funny. Okay, do you have a favorite TV theme song?
Ooh.
What's the first one that comes to your head? And I go, favorite TV theme song.
It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up between Happy Days and Three's Company.
Oh, those are both fantastic songs.
Because I grew up watching those shows, and they're the ones that I can really vividly remember. You know, we watched Gunsmoke and Bonanza and things like that. Bonanza was cool too, and The Lone Ranger, of course. But as far as, you know, Three's Company is that 70s funkadelic, you know, and then Happy Days with the 50s and 60s shaboom stuff. My heart's there, man.
Right.
But you know, I've really opened my mind to so much here in the last 2 or 3 years. Because after my pop died, I went on a downhill spiral because he was the one that really got me started. You know, as far as he said, you're gonna have to start getting out and performing.
Right.
And that's basically what it. You know.
Were both parents supportive of going out and playing?
Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to do without them. But I kept going because that's what they would have wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did.
Right.
But you know, when I first started singing Frankie Valli stuff, my pop hated it. I mean,
really?
But he did, because he was strictly a country fan, and you know, you gotta respect that.
Yeah.
But when I sang it for the first time live, and he heard that crowd, he was like, okay, all right.
My boy can do what other people can't do.
I get it, you know, and he would still he'd go like this, shake his head and laugh, and then but he was proud of me, and I lost when I say my pop, it was my my grandma and grandpa. They're who raised me, and my grandma passed away 9 days after I graduated high school, and she really didn't get to see my musical career take off, you know. But going back, that's another one of the first songs that I had written was about her, and we knew that it was coming, and you know, and it was just called Time. Was the name of the song, and just made a point to. Time is the only thing that you can never get back, and you have to value it and do what you can when you can with those that you love, and that's just how I feel about it. Yeah. And it's not just with music, but life in itself.
Right. It goes quick, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and it was
very
insightful.
Man.
It was great
Thank you.
Hang out with you all day.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to jam soon.
Dude, trust me. After I've got some ideas. I already got some stuff I'm working on. So
I'll get the leopard pants out.
Oh no, it's gonna happen. We'll do a re-interview afterwards with just you in the leopard pants.
All right, man.
I've been Guido, and thanks to Logan for being here, and see you soon. Kiss an angel good morning, and love her like the devil when you get back home.